things we could do is just introduce everybody. We can go, us Virginia Tech folks can go first. I'm Sarah Gower. I'm the technical specialist with the Alliance. Then next I see Rebecca on here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Sleba. I'm the Associate Director with the Alliance.
All right, and I see Tom next.
You'll hear from me in just a minute, Sarah. So
Yeah.
I'll wait.
All right, and Jamie. I don't know if you want to just say
Sure.
your name.
Yep.
Hey, good evening,
James.
everybody. Sorry I'm not joining you completely this evening, but welcome, and I'm really glad that you're all able to participate this evening. I'm the project director, and you've been working a lot with Sarah, so I'm going to let her take some of the talking tonight from me. So appreciate that,
Mhm.
Sarah.
Yes, no problem. And I think the only other person here from Virginia Tech is Robin. So, Robin, if you want to introduce yourself.
Robin White. I'm faculty in our School of Animal Sciences and a collaborator on the Alliance project and am responsible for this livestock subpilot effort. I have interacted with a lot of you individually and look forward to continuing to do so here as we get the project launched more completely.
Very good. All right. I think the only person from DCR that I have here is James. James, do you want to? Everybody probably knows you, but if you want to introduce yourself.
Oh no, there's way more than me from DCR on the call.
Oh, is it? Okay. I
A
need to
lot of the
scroll
a
over.
lot of the planners have joined us this evening as well. So I'm James Martin. I'm the division director for soil and water conservation at the Department of Conservation and Recreation. And for this project, I am the Virginia implementation lead for the Alliance project overall, which includes this livestock subpilot.
All right. So if there are planners on, do y'all want to pop in and just go however, whatever order you want to go in and say just your name and what territory you're working with?
How about we avoid over talking and I'll just call them one by one
Okay.
and you can say hello.
That sounds good.
Rachel, I see you on the screen, so I'll let you go first.
I cover Piedmont, pretty much just for nutrient management for DCR.
Mhm.
Thanks. Alec?
Hi, I'm Alec Lipscomb. I do sort of the southern Shenandoah Valley. Thanks.
Angie Ball?
The Western Area Manager, so I cover the Abingdon, Radford, and Stanton regional offices.
Caroline?
I'm the nutrient management planner for primarily Augusta County.
All right. I think that's my whole crew based on the participant list. Thank you.
All right. And if I'm scrolling through the attendees here, I just see just a couple producers. So if you are a producer that's enrolling in the Alliance and you would like to just introduce yourself real quick, that and maybe what county you're in, maybe if you're doing dairy or beef or something like that.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Leach. I'm from Lexington, Virginia, and we have a family dairy farm here.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, I think I see one other, Mr. Kent. I don't know if you want to, I don't know if you can, if you can take yourself off mute. There you go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I'm filling in for Wes, but I'm
Oh,
Annie,
okay.
and we have a dairy and beef farm in Augusta County.
Awesome. Welcome. All right, very good. Well, it's nice to see y'all again and meet new faces. We are going to turn it over to Tom real quick for a little Alliance overview.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, and thanks everyone for being here this evening. My job is to just give you a brief introduction to the Alliance in case you're not familiar with it. So my name is Tom Thompson. At Virginia Tech, I'm a professor of agronomy. I'm also an associate dean in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, And the unit I lead is the unit that where the Alliance to Advance Climate Smart Agriculture is housed. So I have the privilege of being the principal investigator, which means I have overall responsibility for the success of the program. And it's Jamie and her team, including Sarah and Rebecca here, that do the day-to-day management of the project. We also have great partnerships in Virginia, led by DCR, that has just been outstanding in helping us implement the alliance, along with partnerships at Virginia Cooperative Extension and the Small Farm Outreach Program, as well as, so far, two soil and water conservation districts in Thomas Jefferson and Colonial. So the Alliance to Advance Climate Smart Agriculture was created in 2023 with an $80 million grant from USDA. In 2022, USDA announced a new funding program that was called Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities. And they set aside $3 billion in funding to fund projects that would incentivize and reward farmers, landowners, and foresters for implementing, and ranchers too, I should say, for implementing conservation practices, climate smart conservation practices that protect our soil and water and also help to sequester carbon in soils and reduce the output of greenhouse gases in agriculture. So our project was selected based on the proposal that we submitted. We were at the time the 8th largest project that was funded in this program by USDA. We were able to get underway to begin the work of the Alliance in September of 2023. In that program, we are paying $100 per acre or animal unit for a suite of NRCS approved conservation practices across selected soil and water conservation districts in 4 states, of course, including Virginia, also Arkansas, Minnesota, and North Dakota. In addition to that, we set aside funds, about $2 million each in Virginia and Minnesota, to create what we call the Livestock Subpilot, in which we would help farmers implement practices that are specific to animal feeding operations, whether that's dairy or beef or other animal species. And in the livestock subpilots, we're not bound by the $100 per acre or animal unit limit. So those amounts of payments can be different. And so we were rolling along, and then in January of last year, when the administration changed, USDA put an immediate freeze on this entire program of Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities. And they reviewed it for about 90 days and then communicated with all of the projects. Ours was one of only 10% of those projects in that program that were allowed to go forward without modification. That's because of the great work of our team and partners, and because we had been so successful in implementation. And so, yes? Rachel, did you have?
That was my child. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He's right here.
Okay. I thought you said Tom. So, okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I hadn't put it on mute. Sorry.
No problem. Let's see, where was I? We were able to get back underway in April of last year. Of course, there was the government shutdown late in the year, which caused us to be delayed again. And so we've certainly had some obstacles to overcome. But across the 4 states, we have actually enrolled more than 2,200 producers on more than 400,000 acres. And we have either paid or obligated $39 million out of our total budget of $80 million for producer payments. Our goal is that we will pay out more than $57 million of our budget in payments to producers. And so we feel very good about where we are in this program. It's exciting to be able to work with so many growers across these 4 states, and of course, especially here in our home state of Virginia. The livestock subpilot I mentioned is to be implemented in Virginia and Minnesota. It's been delayed now for the implementation of the livestock subpilot for more than 2 years, really because of some of the things I've already mentioned to you about USDA pauses and government shutdowns, but also some other challenges because of some rules that USDA has applied after the project started. We're excited to finally be able to get the livestock subpilot off the ground. I want to thank Robin for her work on this. She's been very patient, very diligent. I know that she and her team have done the hard work to get producers in Virginia and Minnesota interested in the livestock subpilot. So we're really excited to get this thing going. So that's my history. Sarah, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks, Tom. Next up, we have Robin. She's just going to do a little overview of the livestock subpilot itself.
All right. I appreciate the background from Tom, the introduction from Sarah. Many of y'all I've had the great pleasure of chatting with over the phone or interacting with directly out on farm. And so we'll be able to hopefully address any questions that continue to arise in the program here through this webinar. The livestock subpilot, which is a fun name, right? Why we ended up calling it a subpilot, I don't know, but we roll with it. Can be broken down into 2 practices, 3 phases, and 4 payments. So 2, 3, 4. Easy way to think about it. The 2 practices are the comprehensive nutrient management plan, which will feel very much like the nutrient management plans that many of our producers already have regularly implemented as part of their management, but we'll go into a little bit more depth on how nutrients are handled and what the long-term plans are for the farm to address any challenges that might exist with manure handling. We can also expand those plans to include feed components depending on the implementation practice. So CNMP, that's one of the 2 practices. The other practice we're going to call your implementation practice. And it's basically how you're taking that plan and putting into action. That can be through nutrient management, so adjusting fertilizer practices to match the guidelines that were developed through that nutrient management planning process, or feed management, which is a different practice. It's not one that we normally can incentivize through other programs, but it is an NRCS practice. We have a worksheet that can walk you through how you can work with your nutritionist or work with our team to implement that feed management practice, but it's effectively an organized way to take a look back through your rations and make sure they make sense for the goals of the operation. So CNMP plus either nutrient or feed management become our 2 practices. The phases of the project, then we think of as the enrollment phase, which is where many of us are at right now. We're getting our documents together, we're getting them into the dashboard, going back and forth with the FSA office, trying to find the right stuff on that subprint. Once we get through the enrollment phase, we'll enter into the execution of that plan. And that's when we'll work with our friends at DCR who are assigned out to individual farms to complete that comprehensive nutrient management plan. The 3rd phase of the project then is the implementation phase. It's very possible that some folks may be in phase 2 and phase 3 at the same time. The only thing that's stopping you from starting your implementation phase is a nice little document called a CPA 52. And we'll talk about that in the next step here, where we talk about the 4 payment steps. So there are 4 payments of 25% of your total incentive through this process, and they kind of align with those 3 steps, right? So once we get through the sign up, we get all of our documents in, everything's been checked over by the Virginia Tech team, and our team has submitted the documents for your CPA 52. You'll be issued the first payment, which will be 25% of your total. And that's also the completion of that first phase. So that one's nice and clean. The second payment then is linked to that planning phase. So once you and your planner are comfortable with your comprehensive nutrient management plan, you'll upload the final version into the dashboard. It'll come to my desk. I'll take a look at it, make sure it meets our standards. And once we check the box that it is approved, that'll trigger your eligibility for your second payment. Again, another 25% of the total. Then the implementation phase has 2 payments associated with it. The first payment will issue as soon as our good friends at NRCS approve those CPA 52s. We hope later this month to have a little bit better understanding of what that process is going to look like. But for today, we still have some questions. So I'm going to apologize in advance that we don't have a magic ball to tell you exactly what the timeline might look like there. But stay tuned. We'll have some updates in a little bit. You cannot start on the implementation until the CPA 52 is approved. So we have to wait for that step in the process. But the good news is that once it is approved, you get that third payment of another 25%. Once it's approved, you can also then start work on your practice worksheet for either the feed management or the nutrient management. Once you're comfortable with that practice worksheet, you can turn that back in through the dashboard as well. It'll come to our team, we'll check it over, make sure it aligns with the practice standards, and you'll be triggered to go through, some exit surveys and things. And once those are complete, your final 25% payment is issued. I think we've given everyone an estimate of what their payments are expected to be. It would be $100 per acre or animal unit, depending on whether you're enrolling in nutrient management or feed management, respectively. And then most of our folks in Virginia have elected to participate in allowing their nutrient management plan to contribute to research, which provides a $3,000 supplement on top of that $100 per acre or animal unit. So it's, remember, 2, 3, 4, right? 2 practices, 3 phases, 4 payments, and that's how this phase of our pilot will function. I think I kick it back to Sarah at this point, and we'll continue to pop through the team, but I'll stick around here if folks have any questions about the process.
All right, very good. Thanks, Robin. Next up is James to talk a little bit about the role DCR plays in the program and kind of some goals that they have for the subpilot. James, you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Again, I'm James Martin from the Department of Conservation and Recreation, where we oversee our state's agricultural cost share program. I think many of the producers on the line have participated in that program in the past. We thank you for that and encourage you to continue to keep your eye on that program and stay in touch with your local soil and water conservation district as you develop those comprehensive nutrient management plans as part of this process. There may be opportunities for you to implement other elements of that, maybe the conservation, the manure management piece of your projects through the Virginia Agricultural Cost Share Program and or the NRCS EQIP program. So thank you, producers, for joining us tonight and for participating. At DCR, we are, as I mentioned, the implementation lead. And what that meant for the main part of the project so far was that we've had 2 application cycles and recruited in each about 250 producers to implement practices both on row crop type of production as well as some grazing land practices. But as we were going through this process and thinking about how we can adapt the livestock subpilot here in Virginia, it seemed clear that one of the areas that was being left out of our work so far was those confined animal operations, whether it's, so we focused this first round of the livestock subpilot on dairies. And we're hoping, depending on the answers we get in a few more weeks from NRCS, to have a second round that may look to expand to other types of animal confinement operations. Certainly dairies jumped to the top of my mind when we were thinking about providing opportunities through this project. They're high intensive operations, obviously, and we really thought there would be a good opportunity to implement some additional conservation in those types of operations, in these dairy operations. And heaven knows it's been tough going for the dairies in Virginia over these last decade, maybe. So providing another opportunity for those dairies to improve the efficiency of their operations, we hope will provide you a little bit of relief in that regard as well. So specifically, many of you already have met with or talked to the planners that are will be working with you to develop those comprehensive nutrient management plans. Many of you have worked with those planners already as you developed core nutrient management plans through DCR in the past. So that's really our role here for this livestock subpilot. Is we fortunate to have nutrient management planners on staff. They're the ones that will be working most directly with you to develop that plan, make sure you understand what it means and what it says, and helping you with kind of the technical assistance piece of understanding and being ready to implement that plan. So that's the role for the Virginia team. With that, I will throw it back to Sarah.
All right, thanks, James. So I'm just going to briefly go over, I'm going to share my screen and briefly go over what the contracts look like and what the enrollment process is like, so that you guys can see if you've got any questions about that. And as you become more familiar with your account in the dashboard, you'll be able to know where to find all these things. And but we're always here if you have questions, our team or your planner. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So this is an example of what your CNMP agreement is going to look like. So Robin went over how there's 2 practices and 2 agreements. So we are able to issue this agreement because and pay on it because it is a plan and doesn't require the CPA 52. So when you have turned in all your documents, that would be the W-9, the subprint, the 2026 subprint with the land units, and if you're engaging an entity with that on there, your land unit table, which says this is the acreage with the farm tract and field numbers that I want to enroll, and your maps. So once all those are good to go, then that approval triggers this agreement to become ready for you to sign. So you'll notice the contract start date will be the day that you sign, and then the end date will be 1 year from the day that you sign. So that will change depending on when you go in to sign it, when it's available and when you go in to sign. You'll want to check and just make sure, your name and entity are correct. If you want to engage your entity, make sure that all of this information about the acreage that you're signing up or animal units, whichever way you're doing it, and practice and all match up with what you understand it to be. Just review that. Basically, it goes over the portions of the payments that this contract involves. Like Robin already explained, it's goes over your CNMP and those things that are needed for payment there. One thing to pay attention to is number 5 in the contract, just to understand that it's you don't have to you have to complete all of the tasks not only to receive all 4 payments but also to keep all 4 payments. So if you get into it and something happens and you can't complete it, know that you will have to pay back any funds that you have already received at that time. So that's just something kind of important to keep in mind there. So then you will just sign your name here, or if you are assisting a producer, this is where you'll need to put their name and sign for them. You'll hit mark as complete so that it will complete the task in the dashboard, because that then shows me if you've done things but you don't hit mark as complete, then it doesn't show up as complete on our end. So without going into each individual document on each dashboard. So make sure you mark as complete with every task that you do in your dashboard, and that will show us to go to your account and pull that information. So that is your first agreement there, your CNMP. That's the example of that. And let me pull up the example of the implementation. And that is basically almost exactly the same. It just has the different differentiation of the payment for implementation rather than the planning. So, and same process, check your details, sign, and mark as complete. So that's pretty much all for the contracts there. Let's see. Let me stop sharing that. Okay. Let's see what else. We're gonna put a kind of, soft deadline on the end of the month for these documents, because it's a 1-year contract and we have to go ahead and get started on those. So if folks are having trouble getting their documents in or anything, please reach out. Please be in contact with us or your planner, because we need to get going on these CPA 52s, and we can't submit the 52 without your land units and approved subprint. So without your documents, we can't start that process. And Robin mentioned in about 2 weeks, we have a meeting with NRCS where we will hopefully get some details about outlining the timeline of those, but that's sort of vague right now. So we really are eager to get those documents into them to start that process, because we do have to wait on their approval, and right now don't have a great idea of what that timeline is. So the faster we can get those documents in and get your contract started, then the faster we can also get that second half underway. So let's see. Anything else we want to go over in the dashboard besides the agreements? Once we plan to have another call like this after we get everybody enrolled to go over what your practice worksheet looks like in the dashboard and how to complete that, and what the exit surveys look like and things like that. But anybody else on our team, was there anything else that we wanted to go over on the dashboard? I think that was about it for this call. So, okay, awesome. All right. With that, I would like to just open it up for questions and discussion. If you've had a question about anything that any of the speakers have talked about, or any even small details, if the only thing I would say reserve is if you have a specific question about that might involve a producer's personal identification information, just shoot me a message and we can set up a call about that separately, since there are some producers on the call. So.
If there
Not
are any
everybody wants
questions
to.
about, just general questions about navigating the dashboard, feel free to ask those, and we can pull that up and kind of click around and show you some of that too, if there's any questions about just the dashboard itself and using it.
So I'm pretty sure we have all of our documents and I clicked completed the task on there. Is there any reason we wouldn't have gotten our agreement triggered? Maybe I
Yeah, good
missed
question.
something.
Yeah, good question. So we just got these agreements in what I showed you on the screen, that all that writing and everything, we just got those in tonight. So by end of the week, I should be able to get agreements out to everyone. I'll send you an email to notify you as soon as your agreement is ready for signature. If it is not ready for signature, I will send you an email saying what we're missing. So
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something. So perfect. Thank
no,
you.
ma'am. No, ma'am. Nobody has got one yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions? Anybody on the team think of anything I forgot to go over that we should mention?
I have a question for the producers on the line. Just in terms of, I know there was a lot of backlog of work at FSA offices here in Virginia with coming out of that government shutdown. Has anybody had problems getting access to your FSA documents? Um, uh, we can talk about getting them uploaded to the portal as well, but I think in most cases, the holdup for folks has been getting those documents or being able to get into the FSA office to get them. Anybody had troubles with that?
We
We
had,
were, oh,
go ahead, Annie.
okay. I was just gonna say we were able to get ours. We the first time we got it, it was missing something. I'm not 100% what it was missing, but the second time we asked them, I think we were able to get the one that you guys were after. So-
We had trouble in the beginning. And oh, I guess the one problem was two different problems. One problem was that they had no clue what I was talking about or why I would
I
need a
do
subsidiary
second
plan.
that. Yeah, they had to look pretty hard for it.
Yeah, and she kept questioning me like, "Are you sure that's what they want?" And I was like, I mean, I can pull it up again, but that's what it says they want." She's like, "Well, I don't know why they would want that." I'm like, "Well, I don't know why either, but I have to have it. So can I have it?" Um, and they had a lot of trouble um, getting it to us. I mean, I know we waited and waited, and it probably looked like I was dragging my feet, but I really could not get the information from them. Um, and normally when we work with them, they're great. But this one was it was a little challenging. Um, but we finally got it. So I think we're good now.
Just to kind of explain a little bit maybe why they struggled a bit with that. What we have to have in the bottom of that subsidiary print is a little different, just simply because of the way that we have to report to the USDA, and that the way that they want us to match up the land units that folks are enrolling versus what we are paying for, and how they want us to report that. So the usual subsidiary print that they would print just has kind of that top section where it's the different compliance questions and things like that. It's all of, digging into the land units and digging into who are the members of an entity and who are the operators and that sort of thing within that farm. So that it is a little different, and there's some extra things they have to click in the system to pull that up. And they typically don't do that for a lot of the other programs that folks are enrolling in. And so, yeah, it has been a challenge really across the 4 states in all of the FSA offices. Just kind of, it's a different way of pulling data out of their system. They did receive training and updates and memos and things from their national leadership, but it was a challenge across the board and continues to be. So, not just an issue here in Virginia or just with your local offices, but kind of across the board. But glad you guys were able to get that. And if a payment ends up falling into the next fiscal year for for USDA, which would be um, October, would be the next fiscal year, then you'll have to return to the office and get an updated one for that for that particular fiscal year. So hopefully that if that does happen to you, it'll be a little bit easier the second go around since they've done it for you once before. But thank you for your patience and going back again and getting that.
Yeah. Very good. Anybody else have any questions or any discussion at all?
I have another question. So, when we were entering like the fields and track numbers and whatnot in, I had a hard time trying to figure out where to stop because like like most farms, you've got, I mean, I don't know how many tracts of land. Um, and I didn't know what all was necessary. If it just needed to be where the animals were standing, did it depend on where crops were grown, manure is spread? So I just entered in what's right around the dairy, like the freestall barns and where the dry cows are. Um, but I didn't know if I did enough.
Yes, ma'am. So you for feed management, y'all are enrolled in feed management, I believe. The instructions we got from USDA was just a general holding area since we are since it's not necessarily like land application of fertilizer and things. We're talking more about the actual feed management. So that their instruction to us was just the area where the animals are held, just to give something for a placeholder, basically for enrollment. And that was the same with the CNMP as well. Just and a lot of people it was some of the same land for both, which is fine. But they just said, kind of a general feedlot, barn, something like that. So what you've got is good. Now
Okay, thanks.
for nutrient management enrollment, it's a different story. It's a lot more acreage enrollment. Also because it's based on the enrollment is based on the acreage, whereas in feed management, the enrollment's based on the animal units. So
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Sarah, maybe it sounds like most of the folks, producers that are on the call tonight have kind of worked their way through the process, but I know we have a number of other producers that have a few glitches between agreement with their application, their W-9, and their subsidiary print. Would you mind talking through that a little bit, just so when folks watch the recording, maybe that'll help them understand where the
Sure.
confusion is?
Yes. One popular thing that I had go back and ask people a lot. It's probably my fault for not explaining it clearly in the instructions. Is in your land unit table, we need the designation of where you, like we were just talking about, which piece of land do you want to call what the CNMP is for, what, your holding area, your basic, whatever, barn feedlot. That's that lots of people forgot to designate that. They would put the land that they wanted for the feed management or the nutrient management, but didn't add that. So if you have a note from me that says that, basically, I just need you to go on there and reopen your land unit table. Just type in whatever the land unit is for that holding area or area where they spend a lot of time. It could be a pasture, whatever. And designate that that's the practice you want to do that on so that we can have that placeholder for enrollment with USDA. That was a big one. With the subprints, lots of different things. Some would be if you wanted to engage your entity, the only thing on the subprint was an individual rather than an individual and an entity. We have to have those tied together. And I don't know whether it's a USDA thing or a Virginia Tech payment thing, but it's something to do with what's required for payment. So your subprint has to have both your individual name and the entity and you as a part of the entity if you are engaging your entity. If you're not, if you're just an individual, it's okay if your entity's on there, but it doesn't have to be. Now, if you are engaging your entity, your W-9 has to be for your entity. If you are not, then your W-9 has to be individual. So that is one that we've had some trouble matching up there. So Let's see what else. I think everybody pretty much got the maps all sorted out. And yeah, from my notes, I think that's about the most common troubles that folks had.
Right. And so, Sarah, when you say engaging the entity, essentially it's who's going to get the check from Virginia Tech,
Yes.
right?
Yep,
The
that's right.
checks.
Mhm.
Right, Robin? Four of them.
Yes.
Um, right. So if you want the check to be cut to the entity, the W-9 and the subsidiary print need to include the entity's
That's right.
information, as does the application.
Yeah, and I assume that would be a preference for tax purposes of what you want to do there. So
If you prefer or want or are just an individual operator, you same story. It needs to be consistent across those documents. The application, the W-9, and the subsidiary print all has to have the individual's name. So that's the biggest. It seemed like anyway, looking through the tables, that was the biggest piece of confusion.
for sure.
And Sarah, does it matter? Aside from the producer's preference, does it matter which way they change?
To us,
If
not
it's
at all.
yeah, I was going to say if
No.
it's easier not to have to go back to the FSA office and
Yeah.
instead change the application to an individual and receive a check as
100%.
an individual.
I've done that for a couple folks. Yeah,
Yeah,
just take it
that
off the
might be the
application.
easier way to
Since
go.
if they're W-9 matched, then I have just a couple left that it's like, if you want to drop it, that's totally fine. If fixing a W-9 is easier for you than getting a new subprint, we're happy to do whatever your preference is. So. And then I guess I mentioned the land units obviously on the subprint have to match what you want to enroll. That's a thing that they have for proof for payment as well. So
Sarah, this is Alec. I've got a question about those subsidiary prints.
yes.
I'm in the dashboard of one of the producers I'm working with.
Okay.
And there's two. There's a 2025, which has not been checked off, and there's 2026, which is checked off. Is the 2025 matter?
No, it's not required. I think in other rounds, we have had that in there as sort of a placeholder because it's if that was all they had at the time of application due to the shutdown, then we could at least begin our review because it's easier to we can go ahead and compare and say this is the person's name matches, their entity matches, whatever the land units are here. And then when they're able to get their 26, our review is much faster because we can just say, okay, the land units are there, check. So some people use it as a placeholder during the shutdown when they were filling it out, just to be able to say, we have this, we just can't get our new one yet. So, but it is not required. Only the 26 is required.
Thanks for that.
Only the 2026 is required unless
right now
the payment runs past October
yes.
or into October.
And then it will be 27.
And that is any one of the four payments. If you don't get all four in before October, which especially with the timing for those CPA 52s may be a struggle for all.
Right.
We'll need you to go back to the FSA office. They probably need a month, the month of October, I would say, to get all of their systems updated for the new year of subsidiary prints and documents. But you'll have to go back and grab that so that we have a subsidiary print and FSA documents for the year in which the federal fiscal year in which you're being paid. So,
Yep.
Apologies for that. But turns out USDA does a lot of paperwork.
Who knew, huh? All right, very good.
I got another one if I don't want to hog all the time, though.
No, not at all. That's what this is for.
This confuses me between nutrient management and feed management. So a farm as big as Jennifer's could possibly have 3 fields, 1 field, And then a smaller operation would need to put in 25, 35 fields. Is Jennifer going to have to assign cows in here somewhere because the dairy signed up for feed management evidently is only dealing with acreage tied to the facility where the cattle live? I don't understand this disparity between the necessity of acreage between these two signups. I don't know if I'm saying these terms right, but between
Yeah,
feed man.
Alec, I totally understand the question that you're asking. And the root of it is that if farms are signed up for nutrient management, their payment is on a per acre basis. And that's what the Alliance had negotiated, as part of the program. Um, and therefore they follow the same rules as all of the rest of the Alliance practices that are paid per acre, and they have to list all of those fields. And USDA has a very clean way of accounting that. The feed management is one of very few practices in this program that are paid on an animal unit basis. And although we've asked a few times, we have yet to get clear guidance on how we're proving animal units. So what we've decided as a group is that, we have, I think, 6 or 7 folks that signed up for feed management, and we are going to have to come back to them individually with actually a much simpler process. It's really going to be a small Excel sheet where we plug in the number of calves and heifers and lactating cows and dry cows. And if you've got a bull running around, I suppose we'll count him too. But I doubt he is. Either way, and that's what we're going to use as our internal accounting on the animal units. And it just happens to be that it's considerably simpler to account animal units than it is to account acres, because we've gotten different guidance on the justification that we need to keep to kind of audit those payments internally. Does that response make sense? I know that it actually doesn't make sense in the real world, but in the paperwork world, hopefully it kind of makes sense.
Well, from a nutrient management planner standpoint, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. The nutrient management setup in this does, but now I'm confused as to what my role is with somebody signed up for feed management.
All right, so everyone is completing the comprehensive nutrient management plan, right? 2 practices, one of which is the CNMP. The feed management practice it can be linked to the comprehensive nutrient management plan. It does not have to be. I haven't looked at the worksheet recently, but it's something like 25 or 30 different bullet points of things that one could do to satisfy that practice, most of which are effectively just reevaluating the nutritional composition of the diets relative to the nutrient requirements of the animals in different feeding units and making sure that those supplies and requirements align. So, as a planner, I don't expect that you're probably going to do too much on the implementation phase of the feed management, though you would be very involved, obviously, in the development of that plan in the planning phase, where the CNMP is the major output.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. If folks need assistance with that feed management practice, I am more than welcome to more than happy to sit down with you and talk you through what those options look like. I also am happy to sit down with you and your nutritionist to talk through those, which is probably what makes the most sense if your nutritionist has questions about why you're asking questions about the diet.
If it would be helpful for us to share those practice worksheets, we could send those out to the planners. Would that?
Yeah, they would have been in all the initial invitation emails, which I think they were CC'd on.
Yeah, we've got that.
Okay.
And I know we've had some folks raring to get going on that implementation phase, but do remember that we can't pay you for the implementation until we have the 52 in place. So we got to be a little patient there.
Not only can we not pay you until we have the CPA 52, officially, you're not supposed to start implementing until we've got the CPA 52 approved by NRCS. So, yeah, it's right now we're in the planning phase, right? We'll be working to develop those comprehensive nutrient management plans, and then we'll move into the implementation phase as those 52s are completed and approved.
Yeah, Jamie pointed out in the chat, like you're saying, James, it came down from USDA. It was a change that came down from USDA in around August-ish of last year that, everything would require CPA 52 approval. And if you implement prior to that approval, then you're no longer eligible for payment. So that's an unfortunate stipulation that we have to abide by now. All right, anybody else have any more questions? Please don't hesitate to ask. That's what we set this deal up for, so. All right. Okay, last call. All right. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate everybody's time tonight. I really appreciate y'all participating in the program and listening in and chiming in with your questions. So I'll look forward to communicating next steps with you and look out for another invitation down the line once we get enrollment going for explanation on practice worksheets. So, all right. Thanks, everybody.